Hello, one and all. Welcome back to the channel. I'm now going to be reviewing all of Saturday's action from the NHL. A very busy schedule on Saturday as 14 games took place. So therefore, 28 teams were hungry for 2 points in the standings. This video might take a little bit, but here, let's get rolling. Starting with the team I lead for as the Montreal Canadiens, who have been struggling to say the least, and I'm very much aware they are in a rebuild, so it's going to be still a few more years to come before they're going to be competitive. Went into Pittsburgh to take on the Penguins. All right, we'll take a look at the game summary from this matchup. In the first, goalie would open the scoring for the Montreal Canadiens, just over 4 minutes remaining, 4 minutes and 7 seconds to be exact. His fourth of the season from Matheson and Cole Caulfield. In the second period, Lars Eller, a former Montreal Canadian, would tie the game up just 4 minutes and 5 seconds into that frame, getting his ninth goal of the season, assisted by Putsian and Ryan Raquel. Just a quick little side note on Eller. I believe it was the last game he played. He officially got to the 1,000-game mark, which is an unbelievable achievement just for any athlete of any type of sport. Slavkovsky would get a power play goal, putting the Canadiens up ahead, getting his seventh of the season from Monahan and Suzuki with 7 minutes and 37 seconds to go. So after 40 minutes of play, it was 2-1 in favor of the Montreal Canadiens. Halfway through the third, Jake Guentzel would tie the game up, assisted by Crosby and Marcus Pettersson. That would be his 22nd goal of the year. We would need overtime to settle this, and speaking of Marcus Pettersson, he would get the game-winning goal, his second goal of the year from Raquel and Malkin. So the Penguins would storm back and get a huge win over the Montreal Canadiens. With the win, the Penguins have now improved to 22-17 and 7. Again, still chasing a wild card spot. While the Montreal Canadiens, who I've said several times are going to be like a 500 team, are 20-21 and 8. All right. The next matchup took place in Philadelphia. So it's still staying in the same state of Pennsylvania. And they were hosting the best team in the Atlantic Division as the Boston Bruins came to town. All right, let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. So in the first period, Pastrnak, who else, would kick things off for the Bruins just under 6 minutes to go. His 32nd goal of the year from Zacha and McAvoy. McAvoy would then double up the lead less than 2 minutes after that, getting his seventh goal of the season from James Van Riemsdyk and Zacha. Heinen would increase the lead to 3-0 with 3 minutes and 13 seconds to go, assisted by Brandon Carlo. And then with 1 minute and 37 seconds to go, Pastrnak will get his second goal of the game, his 33rd of the season, making it 4-0 in favor of the Bruins after one. James Van Riemsdyk would increase the lead to 5-0 in the second period, getting his 8th of the season from Pastrnak and Lindholm. Forster would finally get the Flyers on the board with 4 minutes and 37 seconds to go, his 8th of the year, assisted by Sanheim. In the third period, Forster would get his second goal of the game, his 9th of the year from Couturier and Lickshell, if I'm pronouncing that name correctly. And that goal happened with 9 minutes and 36 seconds to go. And then Charlie Coyle would increase the lead to 6-2, getting his 18th of the year from Frederick and James Van Riemsdyk. And that happened with 5 minutes and 15 seconds remaining on the clock. So with the victory, the Bruins are 31-9-9, again still atop of that Atlantic Division. And despite the loss, the Flyers are 25-19-6. They are still in the top 3 of that Metropolitan Division. All right, the next matchup took place in Dallas, where we had the Stars, and they played host to the Washington Capitals. So I'll get the teams loaded up on the screen. Okay, let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. So in the first, Anthony Mantha would kick things off for the Washington Capitals, 9 minutes and 40 seconds into that opening frame, getting his 15th goal of the season from Kuznetsov and John Carlson. Wyatt Johnson would score 1 minute and 4 seconds after that, tying the game up at 1, getting his 14th of the season from Hintz and Heiskanen. Harley would score roughly 30 seconds, or just under 30 seconds after that, giving the Stars a 2-1 lead, his 11th goal of the season from Jamie Benn and Sam Steele After 20 minutes of play, the Stars are up 2-1. In the second period, Rasmus Sandin will get his first goal of the season for the Washington Capitals, 6 minutes and 24 seconds into that middle period, assisted by Abu Kubel and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Marchment would give these Stars a 3-2 lead with exactly 9 minutes to go, his 16th of the season from Seguin and Heiskanen. After 40 minutes of play, it was 3-2 in favor of the Stars. Matt Duchene would increase the lead to 4-2, 2 minutes and 24 seconds into that third period, his 17th of the season from Marchment and Tyler Seguin. Mount the comeback as Alex Ovechkin would get his 9th goal of the season with exactly 2 minutes remaining, a power play goal, his 9th of the season, which I just said, wow, assist by TJ Oshie and Kuznetsov. Dylan Strome would score with 43 seconds remaining to tie the game up, his 19th of the year from Anthony Mantha and Alex Ovechkin. So just when it looked like Washington had all this momentum going into overtime, the Stars quickly snatched it away as Harley would get his second goal of the game goal, his 12th of the season from Robertson and Matt Duchene. So it looked like the Stars were going to blow this game, but they managed to pull this one out in overtime. So with the victory, the Stars have now improved to 30, 13, and 6. I believe they moved into second place in that Central Division, so they're no longer sitting in third. With the loss, the Capitals are 22, 18, and 7, still chasing a wild card spot if they can even get it. All right, off to Edmonton, where we have the Oilers, who have been playing absolutely red hot, and they took on the Nashville Predators. Okay, so I'll get those teams' logos up on the screen. I'm not sure why, but I just find it in NHL 24, it just takes forever to load up teams on the screen, whereas 23, it took literally seconds. And I do apologize for the video quality. I'm recording on like a tablet that's probably extremely old, so it's not going to be the best watch quality, so I apologize for that. Okay, in the first period, Nugent Hopkins would open up the scoring for the Oilers. 7 minutes and 55 seconds into that frame, his 12th of the year from Draisaitl and McDavid. In the second period, Draisaitl will get his 23rd of the season from McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, a power play goal with 8 minutes and 21 seconds to go. In the third period, McDavid would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his 20th of the year from Ekholm and Bouchard. Colton Sissons would finally get the Nashville Predators on the board, his 13th of the year from Evangelista and Smith. With 3 minutes and 19 seconds remaining, Zach Hyman, who's been red hot as well, would pot his 30th goal of the year from Draisaitl and McDavid, and that goal happened with 3 minutes and 19 seconds to go. So the 16-game winning streak is still going for the Edmonton Oilers. Obviously, the big thing for them is now they're on their break because of the All-Star game coming up. Can they get that momentum back once the All-Star game comes back? They will be heading into Vegas, I do believe, to go for the NHL league leading 17-game win streak. So will they be able to continue that? Will they be able to break the record? Only time will tell. With that being said, with this win, they've improved to 29, 15, and 1, sitting third in that Pacific Division. And despite... Why did I have the Rangers on the there? Wow. That was supposed to be the Nashville Predators. Sorry about that. Okay. So with that, and then despite the loss, the Predators are still sitting in the second wildcard spot with a record of 26, 22, and 1. All right. The next matchup took place in San Jose, where we had the Sharks, who unfortunately are the worst team in the Western Conference, and maybe even the league. I'll check the standings here in just a second. And they were playing host to the Buffalo Sabres. Okay, let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. Marc-Andre Vlasic doesn't score that often. Would kick things off for the San Jose Sharks, getting his third of the season from Eklund and Emberson. Ruda would increase lead to 2-0 with 9 minutes and 18 seconds to go, his second of the season, assisted by Eklund. Peterka would cut the deficit to 2-1, getting the Sabres their first goal of the game with 5 minutes and 46 seconds to go, his 17th of the year from Cousins and Owen Power. Greenway would tie the game up with roughly 2 minutes remaining, getting his 6th goal of the season from Tuck and Middlestad. After 20 minutes of play, we are all tied up at 2. Alex Tuck would give the Sabres a 3-2 lead just a minute 36 seconds into that second frame, his 14th of the year, assisted by Middlestad. Peterka would increase the lead to 4-2 in the third period, his 18th of the year from Cousins and Quinn, 4 minutes and 33 seconds into that frame, and then Dylan Cousins would score his 10th of the season with 4 minutes and 16 seconds to go, increasing the lead to 5-2, and that's where we would stand at the end of regulation. So, with the win, the Sabres are now sitting at 22, 23, and 4, and with the loss, the Sharks are 13, 32, and 4. All right, the next matchup took place in Carolina, where we had the Hurricanes, and they played host to the Arizona Coyotes. Okay, so let's take a look and see how this game went. Cooley would kick things off for the Arizona Coyotes, just 5 minutes and 39 seconds remaining in the period, his 6th of the season from Guntier and Mosser. In the second, Nietzsche would tie the game up 7 minutes and 57 seconds into that frame, getting his 13th of the season from Jarvis and Brett Burns. And just when it looked like this game might be going into overtime, Orlov would get a very late goal with just 36 seconds remaining, his 3rd of the season from Drury and Chatfield. And then Fast would get an empty net goal just 13 seconds after that, getting his 5th of the year from Seth Jarvis. So 3-1 would be the final from Carolina. With the win, they have improved to 28, 15, and 5, still sitting in the top 3 in that Metropolitan Division, while the Coyotes, despite the loss, are 23, 22, and 3, still chasing a wildcard spot in that Western Conference. All right, the next matchup took place in Ottawa, where we had the Senators, and they played host to the New York Rangers. There, now I got the right teams on the screen. All right, let's take a look at the game summary from this matchup. So in the first, the captain, Brady Tkachuk, would kick things off for the Senators with just 8 minutes and 17 seconds remaining, his 20th of the year from Claude Giroux. After 20 minutes of play, it was 1-0 in favor of Ottawa. Chichurkin would get the Senators their 2nd goal of the game, making it 2-0, a power play goal at that, his 8th of the year, assist by Batherson and Shabbat. Now the onslaught begins for the Rangers. Lafreniere would tie the game up 5 minutes and 51 seconds into that same period, his 12th of the year from Panarin and Fox. Kreider would tie the game up 8 minutes and 33 seconds, getting his 23rd of the year from Zibanejad. Jones would get the Rangers their 3-2 lead, 9 minutes and 12 seconds into that same frame, his 1st of the season from Panarin and Trocheck. Brodzinski would increase the lead to 4-2 with 9 minutes and 46 seconds to go, assisted by Jones and Cooley. Wheeler would increase the lead to 5-2 with just over 3 minutes remaining, his 9th of the year from Zibanejad and Kreider. In the third period, Panarin would add a goal with 2 minutes and 43 seconds remaining, his 30th of the year from Lafreniere, and then Kakko would increase the lead to 7-2, getting his 5th of the year from Brodzinski and Gustafsson. So the Senators had a 2-0 lead and let 7 straight goals in, and fell 7-2 to the Rangers. So with the victory, the Rangers are now 30, 16, and 3, again still top of that Metropolitan Division, and with the loss, the Senators are still last in the Eastern Conference with a record of 18, 25, and 2. All right, now let's see who won and who scored between the Devils and the Lightning. I'm sure if you're a Tampa Bay fan, you're more than ecstatic to have Vasilevsky back. I'm very much aware he's been back for a couple of months, but I just remember at the start of the season when they were juggling through goaltenders, they weren't looking like they were that great, but now they're really starting to click, and I could see them being a threat this year in the postseason. So there's no scoring in the first. We have to jump ahead to the second period. Just a minute, 9 seconds into that frame. Nick Paul would give the Lightning a 1-0 lead, his 13th of the year from Hedman and Radish. Hagel would score with 9 minutes and 40 seconds to go, his 15th of the year from Hedman and Nick Paul, giving the Lightning a 2-0 lead after 2 periods of play. Palat would finally give the Devils on the board 2 minutes and 49 seconds into that third frame, his 6th of the year from Hischier and Hatakka. Stamkos would increase the lead to 3-1, 3 minutes and 49 seconds into that frame, his 21st of the year from Perbix and Kucherov. Jesper Bratt would cut the deficit to 3-2, getting his 19th of the year, assisted by Hischier, 7 minutes and 19 seconds into that frame. Braden Point would double up the lead to 4-2, with just over 6 minutes remaining, getting his 24th of the season. Toffoli would score with just under 3 minutes to go, cutting the deficit yet again to 4-3, his 21st of the year from Palat and Nemec. Hagel would increase the lead to 5-3, getting his 16th of the year from Srelly and Kucherov. And then Braden Point would increase the lead to 6-3, doubling it up on the score, his 2nd of the game, 25th of the season from Hedman and Steven Stamkos. So a wild game, to say the least, especially in that third period. So 6-3 would be the final score in favor of Tampa Bay. So with the win, the Lightning improved to 27, 18, and 5, and the Devils are 24, 20, and 3. Lightning are sitting third in that Atlantic Division, while the Devils are chasing a wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. All right, next matchup took place in Winnipeg, where we had the Jets playing host to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So let's see if we get those teams on the screen, and we'll take a look at this game. Recap. So I remember when I heard about these two teams doing a home and home, I thought, man, for the Leafs, you got to get at least one of these wins because it's going to be tough. The Jets are a very good team. I mean, they've been on top of that Central Division for quite some time. They managed to steal one at home with this fantastic performance from Samsonov, and then they went into Winnipeg, and we'll take a look at the game recap right away. So Sandberg would kick things off for the Jets, making it 1-0, getting his first goal of the season, 4 minutes and 13 seconds into that frame. Ryan Reeves would get his second goal of the year from Gregor with just 49 seconds to go in that period. So after 20 minutes of play, it was all tied up at 1. John Tavares would get a power play goal in the second, his 13th of the year from Morgan Riley, and Mitch Marner, a minute 54 seconds into that frame. Austin Matthews would get his 40th goal of the season. The guy's definitely going to get the Rocket Richard Trophy. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. The guy's just on a tear. A power play goal from Marner and Morgan Riley. Benoit would get his first goal of the season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Increasing lead to 4-1, and that goal happened with 1 minute and 38 seconds remaining. Mason Appleton would score with just 12 seconds to go, making it 4-2. His 9th of the year from Iafallo and Josh Morrissey. But at that point, it was too little, too late for a comeback. 4-2 would be the final score in favor of the Maple Leafs. So they ended up getting both the wins over the Jets at home and away. So I'm sure that's going to help this team out in the long run. So with the victory, Toronto is 25, 14, and 8. They are currently sitting in a wild card spot, but there's only a 1-point difference between them and the Lightning. So if they can win their next game and see the Lightning lose their next game, they could easily find themselves back in the top 3 of that Atlantic Division. With the 2 losses in a row, the Jets are 30, 12, and 5. They no longer find themselves atop of that Central Division. They are currently sitting 3rd, but the good news is they're only 2 points back of the Avalanche, and they're only a point back of the Stars. So if they can happen to bounce back with their next win, and say the Stars lose, they could find themselves back in 2nd place of that division. So not all hope is lost, and I believe all 3 of those teams have a very comfortable lead on the 4th place team, which I believe are the Predators. All right, so the next game took place on Long Island, where we have the Islanders, and they played host to the Florida Panthers. So let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. Okay, so in the second period, there was no scoring in the first. Sam Reinhart would get his 37th goal of the year Opening up the scoring for the Florida Panthers, 7 minutes and 56 seconds into that frame. His 37th of the year from Kachuk and Verhaeghe. Holmstrom would score with 3.5 minutes to go, his 12th of the year from Peugeot and Wallstrom. So after 40 minutes of play, we were all tied up at 1. Matthew Kachuk would get a power play goal of his own, his 16th of the year from Barkov and Montour, 5 minutes and 59 seconds in that frame. And then Kyle Palmieri would score with 1.5 minutes to go to tie the game up at 2, his 13th of the year from Dobson and Barzell. The game would need overtime, and Oliver Ekman-Larsson would get the game-winning goal, roughly 2 minutes into that frame, his 9th of the year from Evan Rodriguez and Stollers. So with the victory, the Panthers are sitting at 31-14-11, still second in that Atlantic Division, while the New York Islanders are still chasing for a playoff spot with a record of 20-17-12. All right, the next matchup took place in Detroit, where we have the Red Wings, and they played host to the Vegas Golden Knights. Okay, let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. So in the first, Dylan Larkin would kick things off for the Red Wings, getting his 21st of the year from DeBrincat and Raymond. Wallman would increase the lead to 2-0, 7 minutes exactly into that frame, his 10th of the year from Perron and Sider. Barbashev would finally get the Vegas Golden Knights on the board, getting his 13th of the year from Nick Waugh and Alec Martinez, 8 minutes and 2 seconds into that period. Cotter would tie the game up over halfway through, 9 minutes and 5 seconds to be exact. 9 minutes and 5 seconds to be exact, getting his 6th of the season from Martinez and Pietrangelo. Foligno would increase the lead to 3-2 with a late power play goal for the Detroit Red Wings, just 1 minute and 43 seconds remaining, his 9th of the season, assisted by Sider, and Fabry. So after 20 minutes of play, it was 3-2 in favor of Detroit. There was no scoring in the second. We have to jump all the way ahead to the third period, where Kopp would increase the lead to 4-2, getting his 10th of the year, assisted by Rasmussen, 9 minutes and 13 seconds remaining. And then with just 1.5 minutes to go, Dylan Larkin would increase the lead to 5-2, getting his 2nd of the game, his 22nd of the year from Comfort and Lucas Raymond. So 5-2 would be the final in favor of the Red Wings. With the win, Detroit's 26-18-5. They currently have the number 2 wildcard spot. And as for number 2, Vegas is currently sitting second in that Pacific Division, despite the loss, 29-15-6. All right. I believe there's 3 more games to review from Saturday. The next one took place in Minnesota, where they played host to the Anaheim Ducks. Okay, let's take a look at the game summary from this matchup. So in the first, Kaprizov would kick things off for the Wild, getting his 19th goal of the season from Zuccarello and Broden. Terry would tie the game up 8 minutes and 17 seconds, getting his 13th of the year from Paterno and Grulx. Grulx? G-R-O-U-L-X. Grulx. Merrill would give the Minnesota Wild a late 2-1 lead with just 1 minute and 23 seconds to go, his 2nd of the year from Zuccarello and Mermis. So after 20 minutes of play, it was 2-1 in favor of the Minnesota Wild. There was no scoring in the second. We had to jump ahead to the third period, where Ryan Strome would tie the game up 6 minutes and 45 seconds into that frame, his 6th of the year from Gudas and Hendrick. Terry would get his 2nd goal of the game with 9 minutes and 20 seconds to go, his 14th of the year from Henrique and Vuokalainen. So the Penguins, the Ducks would storm back after trailing through most of this game to come back and get a win over the Wild. With the win, the Ducks are still second last in that Pacific Division with a record of 17-30-2, while the Minnesota Wild are kind of reeling, not at the good time of the year either, 21-23-5, and are still a fair ways out of a playoff berth. All right, the next matchup will actually be a very quick recap between the Calgary Flames and the Chicago Blackhawks. Okay, so I'll just say this right now. There was just 1 goal scored the entire game, and we'll take a look and see who scored. Elias Lindholm will get a power play goal for the Calgary Flames in the second period with 4 minutes and 5 seconds remaining. His ninth of the season from Sharon Govich and Nazem Kadri. So 1-0 is the final score for Calgary. With the victory, they're 22, 22, and 5, still chasing a playoff spot. And while the Chicago Blackhawks are last in that Central Division with a record of 14, 34, and 2. All right, the last matchup from Saturday took place in Vancouver. We have the Canucks, and they played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Okay, so let's take a look at the goal scoring summary from this matchup. So there's no scoring in the first. We have to jump ahead to the second period, where Texier would kick things off with a shorthanded goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets, getting his 8th of the season from Severson. Kuraly would increase the lead to 2-0, 6 minutes and 14 seconds into that frame, getting his 7th goal of the season from Texier and Danforth. Brock Besser would finally get the Canucks on the board with 4 minutes and 40 seconds to go, his 28th of the year from JT Miller and Pius Sutter. Bean would increase the lead to 3-1, getting his 4th of the year from Chinikov with 2 minutes and 33 seconds remaining. Marchenko would increase the lead to 4-1, getting a power play goal for the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's their 15th of the season from Gaudreau and Werenski. So after 40 minutes of play, it was 4-1 in favor of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Who would have guessed that? In the third period, Elias Pettersson would cut the deficit to 4-2 with a power play goal of his own, his 26th of the year from JT Miller and Quinn Hughes. Besser would cut the deficit to 4-3 with a power play goal of his own, his 2nd of the game from Pius Sutter and Quinn Hughes, his 29th of the season. And then he would complete the natural hat trick with yet another power play goal, his 30th of the year from Elias Pettersson and JT Miller. We would need extra time in this one. And speaking of Elias Pettersson, he would get the game-winning goal with just under a minute to go, his 27th of the year from Besser and Quinn Hughes. So after being down 4-1 after 40 minutes of play, the Vancouver Canucks got 4 straight goals to win this in overtime. So with the victory, they're 33, 11, and 5, still first in that Pacific Division, while the Columbus Blue Jackets are 15, 23, and 10. They're currently sitting last in that Metropolitan Division. All right, that takes care of my recap from Saturday. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, please feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. And until next time, take care.